continue. I understand that the guy who was leading the thing, he's on the list of people employed by afforestation. So if he has issues as a chairman, he should go to the area coordinators. They'll inform the executives, and we'll have a meeting like we had yesterday. You don't come and disrupt a meeting and say that you were coming to meet with me. How do you meet with somebody by banging chairs on the table? That cannot be a meeting. That is why I'm suggesting to you that it means that it is not him only that is part of what I think is a conspiracy.
A conspiracy to do what?
I don't know what they're trying to destroy my credibility. I don't know what it is, but it cannot be that he is not aware of what's going on. Making false accusations like I'm trying to destabilize Akufo-Addo government itself suggests to me that it cannot be.
So you think it's somebody from your party who is behind this?
I cannot say, but my suspicion is that it's more than one individual.
Well, he talks about a conspiracy against him and that people think that he is working against the interests of the current president. Well, this is something that we'll interrogate shortly with the executives of the party in the region. But as you well know by now, the National Commission on Civic Education have taken this on quite strongly today at the press conference where the chairperson, Madam Josephine Nkrumah, described the spate of political vigilante groups' activities in the country as a national crisis that demands swift action.
Political party vigilantes have no place or space in our democratic culture. Therefore, the leadership of the NPP must demonstrate to the people of Ghana that the law applies equally to all by actively pursuing security agencies and the judiciary to swiftly and decisively prosecute vigilante groups. Political party leaders must genuinely exhibit to Ghanaians that they do respect the rule of law. They must show commitment to peace and national stability by disbanding immediately all militant groups within their rank and file. Enough of the lip service to the rule of law. The NCC holds the considered view that the apparent leniency with which Delta Force vigilantes were handled when they struck at law courts to free their fellow perpetrators has further emboldened them to continue to act with such impunity. The NCC will not cease to condemn, name and shame vigilantism and all acts of lawlessness because of the risk it poses to the country's democratic stability, social security, investor confidence, and peaceful coexistence of all Ghanaians, amongst other factors. This, for us, is a national crisis.
Well, she also called on the IGP, the National Security Minister, and other key state agencies to, as a matter of urgency, disband all vigilante groups and simply enforce the law.
We Ghanaians demand that laws and institutions must be allowed to work without fear or favor. We demand that the laws of this country must work. Further, we implore the IGP that he must reinforce NCC's call for disbanding these illegal militant groups by effectively proscribing their activities. It is by so doing that a clear warning and lasting signal will be sent to others who are contemplating unleashing similar negative acts. The National Security Minister, the National Security Advisor, the Ghana Police Service, and all security agencies must work together to restore the confidence of Ghanaians in security and law enforcement.
So you have Madam Josephine Nkrumah, chairperson of the NCCE, in that rare call at that press conference a while ago. But we are privileged to have her join us on the line. Thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. You've rightly described this issue as a national crisis. But beyond the demands and the press conferences, because this is not the first time this is happening, what exactly are the proactive steps you're going to take as an outfit to ensure that those demands you made today are actually heeded to?
I think good evening to your listeners, first of all, and thank you for having me on your program this evening. I think first and foremost, it's important for a strong national discourse on this matter. And it's true in the past we've alluded to these issues, we've spoken against it, we've condemned it. But this time around, we want more than lip service paid to the issue of vigilantism in this country. So for NCCE, our immediate steps is to engage the political parties, to engage the security agencies, and try and get to the bottom of this, understanding the issues that underline this issue of vigilantism and find a lasting solution for it. Of course, as an institution, we can't do it on our own. We have to rely on all stakeholders in the government space, in the public space, and in the private space to have a say. But it's for us to ensure that we continue to demand this, that there is a disbanding of vigilante groups in this country.
But some would say, those listening to us right now would say that, have we not gone beyond the talking? Haven't we talked enough? We see them do it over and over again. I can't even continue to, outline the number of cases involving these vigilante groups, and yet we are still engaging.
And precisely so. We're seeing it going on and on and on. We speak about it when one ugly incident rears its head, and then it kind of subsides and nobody's talking about it. But we need a sustained conversation on this. And this for us is the beginning of that conversation. We need to ensure that political parties take concrete steps to disband these, vigilante groups, because they created these vigilante groups. We all know that these vigilante groups are an illegal entity that are, pervading a certain space within our society, and the ill effects of that have a bearing on all of us. But until the parties sit down and we begin to to talk about this, not talking for the heck of talking, but talking with the intention of disbanding the groups, that must be an immediate step, that the groups must be disbanded. In the past, I know there was some talk about the police having disbanded the group, but we know that it didn't really happen. So what went wrong? How do we ensure that this time it is not just the talk, but really they are disbanded in the true sense of the word?
So in this specific case involving the Monitoring and Evaluation Minister, Dr. Anthony Akotose, what specific demands are you making on the governing NPP, for instance?
We are making demands for the NPP to call these illegal groups to order, and publicly and in the law enforcement agencies take strong steps to prosecute them. I mean, in the past, we've attempted to prosecute them. In fact, we have prosecuted them, but with such leniency that it has even just emboldened them to go further and commit further acts of impunity. So this time round, we need to see that the police and the judiciary are taking steps to give punishment that becomes a deterrent to them. But when we don't, and you can come out and call yourself the leader of so and so group, when you know that that group is illegal, that in itself demands that something ought to be done.
We're grateful for your time. That's Madam Josephine Nkrumah. She's a chairperson for the NCC.
Let's go to the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi. Let's speak to Sam Pine. He's the MPP Regional Secretary there. Mr. Pine, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Yeah, good evening.
Mr. Pine, we understand that one of the guys who led the Delta Forces, the group that attacked the gathering, is a known polling station executive of the MPP in the Ashanti region. True?
It's not just the Ashanti region. He is a polling station executive within the Tafo constituency.
Tafo constituency.
The police station. Another one is also a polling station organizer.
Okay.
So the issue of linking up to the Delta Force, I believe, should be put in the right context.
Okay, so
even the Delta Force themselves, the leadership came out this morning to issue a statement that they were not part of whatever transpired. I'm not saying this to justify whatever they did, but I condemn it, in certain ways. Even if it's a party gathering and party members who want to go there and do any disruption of the program, Because if you have any grievance, we have the procedures in addressing such issues within the party. Therefore, they should have gone through the processes. I condemn that though, but we also need to tell the world that this Delta Force issues with every other incident, if even some group would come up together and go and destroy people, and because some people did that under a name, people want to link it to them, it's quite unfortunate.
My question, now that we know that these, the people who led the group, two of them at least are polling station executives of the party in Tafopankrono, and you condemn it, NCC says it's illegal, they must crack the whip. I'm wondering whether the party, and the party that prides itself in being a epitome of rule of law, have you filed a report with the police to say, I know these guys, this is where they live, arrest them and pick them up?
No, but you see, you do a report based on two things, or one thing. What did they do? What was the outcome of their actions? And the police know to investigate. I know this matter happened in the presence of the MCE, the municipal chief executive. He is the chairman of the MISEC, that's the Municipal Security Committee or Security Council in the municipality, and therefore every security aspect to this incident will be undertaken by him. And I know definitely the Tafu command of the Ghana Police have been notified.
Yes, I mean, you say you know, but so far we've not heard of anybody being picked up for questioning in relation to this incident.
I'm not a part of the security setup. I don't know when.
I know you are not, but I know you are a good citizen of the land, and you know the perpetrators of this. You say you know. Can you volunteer their names? Can you volunteer their names at least to the police?
We heard them talking to the media, and therefore, yes, but the police or whatever, whichever organization will pick them. Now we look at certain things. What was their action? They look at a lot of things, and I believe they will act accordingly when they feel it's right to pick them up or to leave them or go scot-free if they find nothing wrong against what they did. So I cannot speak for the police on this matter now, but I want to say is that yes, whatever happened, I don't know whether by my training as a teacher, I don't compromise in discipline in any state at all, and therefore I condemn that. But you see, the NCC, it's come too late to come from them. That on this matter, the commanded to educate people on civil responsibility and all that. I don't remember the last time that I saw a fan or even a poster of the NCC going around within the country telling people of their responsibilities as citizens, especially when it gets to elections and such related matters. So I'm just surprised that today they find a voice looking at, yes, we are concerned with vigilantism in the country or whatever. We know the effects and all that. But to come from them, they should be acting, telling the people, organizing meetings, town hall meetings on the effect of some of these actions.
Mr. Pine, I'm sure that most of us are aware of the mandate of the NCC, but finally, just before we let you off, I would like to find out, is your party embarrassed by the acts of these vigilante groups at all?
Of course, nobody will sit somewhere and say that I'm very pleased because somebody did this action. Is it a bashing from all the media houses against the party? Some of you don't know the consequences and the truth about the matter. It's an embarrassing situation to the party.
But yet you will not help the police to arrest these persons that you know.
Pardon me?
But yet you are embarrassed by it. But yet you will not help the police or even volunteer to help the police to arrest these persons. Because you're saying...
I've told you the situation. I said the matter happened in the presence of the municipal chief executive, who is the head of the security within the municipality.
Okay.
So whatever action they want to take action, they are the first ones to get in contact with.
We are grateful for your time, Mr. Sampine. He's the Ashanti Regional Secretary for the ruling NPP.
By the way, we've been chasing the police since this happened. We just got the commander who says he's not going to speak to it. We should look for the spokesperson.
And
we're still working the phone lines to see.
Also says she's
and thankfully, the names have been mentioned by the regional secretary of the party. He says 2 people who are polling station executives in Tafopankoni led this. So the police have heard it. The question is whether they will have the courage to move on and pick people up and interrogate, investigate, and prosecute if they have to.
Now, the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, Kwadwo Owusu-Afriyie, Sir John, has announced a shoot-to-kill plan as part of efforts to deal with illegal logging of trees in the Sefwi area. Speaking to the media on a visit to the Western region, he expressed concern that some of the loggers have ventured into forest reserves and cut down trees. He says soldiers will be deployed to protect the forest who will have the authority to shoot illegal loggers.
I will let the soldiers remain here after the operation. If you think the soldiers will leave, forget it. They will be here for a very long time. I'll give them the forest as gifts so they can continue their exercise. If they get anyone in the forest doing illegal logging, they should shoot you.
So you have the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, Kwadwo Owusu-Afriyie, and we're privileged to have him join us on the line for further clarification on this. Thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight, Sir John. So, shoot-to-kill plan, is that the only option for you?
Oh, no, not at all. There are, several solutions to that. But for us, one of the most effective would be to confront these miscreants head on. You see, most of them are armed. They go to the bush, threaten to kill our own staff who are monitoring and patrolling these areas. And we have had instances of where some of our staff have been shot. Others have been received machete wounds and so on and so forth. And in one instance, one of our guards was arrested, stripped naked, and paraded through the township, all to put the fear of the Lord in my staff. And so it is right that we should have draconian measures that will stop this. The rate at which this menace is being undertaken, if we are not careful, by the year 2020, we will not have anything to call forest in the Western region or in any part of the country. And so we are dead serious about what we are
So you will kill them. So you will kill them, Sir John. Is that what it is? So you are ordering that they should be killed?
No, not at all. I do not have that power, which is why we said that we will speak with authorities that be, and then to see whether or not we have to change our mode of patrolling and ensuring that the forest is protected. I do not have the power to kill anybody. I don't even bear arms, and remotely we cannot do that. But we said that we will speak to those in authority to see whether or not our position should not be changed. In view of the new threats that we face, as foresters.
So, if I heard you right, you're going to tell those who have the power to be able to shoot and kill. But have you done that yet?
No, not at all. I mean,
would you have any plans of doing that soon?
I was there on Saturday. Today, I arrived at my office in Accra, and so between now and the weekend, we will be speaking with those who matter in this enterprise, which is why we took the press there to take photographs of the logs that have been stolen. Indeed, it runs into more than a compartment, which means that when the compartment is given to an individual, to work in, it takes about 2 years, before you are able to complete the cycle. And in just a week or thereabout, the whole compartment would have gone. So it tells you that if we are not careful, and the rate at which this is going on, like I said, by 2 years' time, in 2020, we will not have anything to call forest in this country, and that is sad for all.
But Sir John, are you minded of the need to ensure the human rights of these individuals?
Yes, and I believe that we do, and so also do we also have human rights. My people who are being killed, and shot at, and then receive machete wounds day by day. I believe that those people should also care about the human rights of my people. And so, if I am there to to ensure that I do not send an army to war and tie their hands at their backs. We are not going to allow them to have the field day and then drive everybody away by the threats that are usually carried out.
So it's an eye for an eye situation.
In the name of human rights.
So it's an eye for an eye situation.
I don't know about that. Since Moses died, I've not heard about an eye for an eye. But what I believe in is that if you don't send people like my staff there and then just go with the hands for these people to either sometimes shot at and receiving machete wounds. We are not going to allow that. But what we do, if it is indeed for us to confront them head on, as I've said, then somebody must take that decision. It is not for Sir John to take that decision. And I'm going to speak with those who matter in this enterprise.
We're grateful for your time. That's the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Kwadwo Owusu-Afriyie, Sir John. But that's not all. That's not the only forest reserve facing such a fate. Even in the Etiwa Forest Reserve in the Eastern Region, trees are being cut down without recourse to the environment.
And the Lands and Natural Resources Minister had cause to say this past weekend that in fact there are forestry commission officials who connive with the with people to deforest a lot of our reserves. But why should we care if trees are being cut down? A United Nations report issued yesterday is warning there will be more incidents of rising sea levels, more devastating droughts, and more damaging rainstorms unless efforts are made to preserve the environment. Remember what happened in the north a short while ago with the Bagri Dam spillage that killed a lot of people, destroyed land. They say that is going to happen with more frequency.
Not to talk of Indonesia as well.
Exactly, because of climate change. Joseph Gakpo is our climate change expert here and joins us with details. What exactly is the point of this report?
So this report is making the point that when it comes to the warming of the globe, if it goes beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, as they've repeatedly warned in a lot of the documents that the United Nations have issued on climate change, it could result in a situation where industries will be affected, cities will be affected. The continuous increase when it comes to the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere could result in a situation where even the sustainable development goals and the efforts being made to ensure development could also be negatively impacted. And so the IPCC report is calling for concerted efforts from governments from all over the world to limit emissions when it comes to carbon dioxide. And then there's the link having to do with deforestation, because the point is that when the trees are there, then they help limit the amount of carbon dioxide out there in the atmosphere, hence the need to ensure protection of the forest to reduce some of these situations going forward.
Thank you very much, Joseph. And so to the climate change skeptics, here you go. Send us your thoughts on the shoot-to-kill policy that Sir John, the chief of the Forestry Commission, is pushing for. What do you make of that? If, of course, you're destroying a forest and we risk imposing on ourselves a climate change situation that could destroy our environment with floods, etc. In a country really that battles and struggles to deal with the common few hours of rain. He's saying the way to go is not to sit idle by and watch people destroy our forests. And if you have to shoot and kill, that's what you need to do. What do you make of that? Send us a WhatsApp, 0244-340437. George Jaffe is here with business, and I see comments on the stories we've looked at so far on our social media pages. Let's do WhatsApp, MFA.
Okay, so this one says, I'm totally scandalized per the road the Ashanti Regional MPP Secretary Sampain has sought to take such a worrying matter of vigilantism. Instead of helping to smoke out the lawless party Delta Forces guys, he's unhappy about the NCC and their lawful mandate which they are undertaking. A big shame. That's from Koku Mauli Nanegbe sends that one in. This one also says, when you treat a cub of lion as a pet, it will come after you one day because it's not a monkey. Where was the NCC in 2016, where these vigilante groups were from? A number of your messages that you've sent in after business, I'm sure we'll get to go through.
And George, where do you start on that question? Shoot and kill?
No, I don't believe in that. I believe that we should look at other avenues to deal with the situation. Even when someone is found to have committed a crime, it should be given that opportunity to prove whether indeed he was guilty or not. So let natural justice rule even be applied in this circumstance.
What do you have in the headline, George?
Well, there's something on men's gold. You're saying that from tomorrow they'll start paying the full value invested by their customers. And also, President Akufo-Addo has justified decision to seek funding from China despite concerns from our donors and development partners. News on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, and Mark Auto Parts, distributors of Chevy cars.
We give you nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply. Joy 99.7 FM.
Now, welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Gold dealership firm Men's Gold says it will start the process of paying the full value of funds invested by its customers from tomorrow. The firm took the decision after it engaged customers on the best way out to deal with the payment challenges that has hit the company. However, this will be done within 90 days, but based on some conditions. Ni Amamatafiu is head of communications at the gold dealership firm Men's Gold.
What you are saying is that if you want us to pay you your principal, give us 90 days and we will pay you your principal. Within the 90 days, by the end of the 90 days, each and every one will receive his or her principal. But then again, there were issues that the customers told us. They said that they're having challenges, they are in financial difficulties. That's what they told us. And based on that, they cannot wait till the 90 days where we can pay everybody principal in full. In that case, we agreed that within, or we are going to come out with a certain percent that we can pay off our customers.
So if I have invested like 100,000 Ghana cedis and the economist will say all other things being equal, by the end of January 2019, depending on your cash flow, you would have paid that money back to me.
Exactly. That's what we are saying. It's 90 days, starting from tomorrow. So if you invested 100 million Ghana cedis, you can invest whatever amount you have invested. We are saying that within 90 days, we will settle you. We will pay you.
And that's a surety.
Oh, yes.
Niyama Matefiu is head of communications at gold dealership firm Men's Gold. President Akufo-Addo has justified decision to seek funding from China to help support the country's infrastructure needs. Government has come under criticisms over the amount that is seeking from China because of its impact on its debt stock. But answering questions at the ongoing Financial Times Africa Summit from the editor, that is Nyelo Baba, said that the time has come for Ghana to diversify its sources of funding to develop the country.
Bunch of Americans doing business in China. Are they getting involved in debt trafficking? I don't understand why we're being singled out for this particular initiative. China is a very important part of the global economy. My understanding is that today it's the second economy of the world. How can Africa live in a world where we don't deal positively with the second economy of the world? They're dealing with that. They need to deal with it. It's in our interest.
I ask you about the role of industrial policy. You've talked about putting a factory in every district. Isn't that a recipe for white elephants?
No, not at all. Each one of the districts in our country have their own unique set of raw materials that we can do something with.
President Akufo-Addo speaking to Financial Times editor Lionel Baba. Now, government says the recent challenges that has hit the Ghana cedi will soon be over. The local currency is said to have depreciated against the dollar by more than 7% for this year. It is currently trading at around 4 Ghana cedis, 93 pesos. A little bit, better than what we actually witnessed 2 weeks ago. But what has influenced this optimism? Let's hear from Information Minister Kojo Oponikuma.
A significant inflow of about 1.3 billion that is coming in to shore up our reserves, and to the fact that now we are earning a net positive on the trading markets. And if you look at the fact that our balance of payment and balance of trade is now turned positive, which means on the net we are earning more than we are giving out. And the fact that even apart from that you're having a lump sum hit you of about 1.3, the two together gives us optimism that the worst is over.
We shouldn't be worried at all.
We need to pump more confidence into the system.
I'm not saying that it's about the fiscal. The monetary side has been taken care of.
No, the exchange rate is a product of the monetary policy, and you are noticing that in terms of how that has been managed, if you compare to what's happening in other parts of the world, we have held our own relatively better. So it's not about the fiscals, it's about the monetary. And if you read the S&P reports, etc., they even go further to say that there's been strong monetary policy management, which has translated into helping us hold our own in the midst of all of these challenges.
Information Minister designate Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. Now, the first tranche of the cocoa loan syndicated funds has hit Bank of Ghana's account. Joy Business understands it hit the Central Bank's account on Thursday. Now, this will pave the way for the regulator to release all the amounts into the market to help fast-track the city's stability. Let's still stay on the local currency, because the president of the Association of Bankers, Alhassan Andani, has defended the pumping of dollars into the economy by the Bank of Ghana to help stabilize the city in the short term. The Bank of Ghana, since the beginning of this year, is said to have pumped more than $200 million to help stabilize the Ghana city. So how have some people criticized this move, saying it's not a prudent one, but Mr. Ndani thinks that it is good?
Price stability is the main objective of the Bank of Ghana. If there's any volatility on the FX side, it translates into general price, translates into inflation. So in the short end, when you see that, you've got to stabilize it. The market is not deep. In terms of FX requirement, it's not deep at all. If you put in $100 million a day for a week, you clean the market out. And in the net financial reserve position that we set, that's not an impossible number. And then, of course, the banks will have their normal floats, which comes true. But really, the conversation we should be having about as a country is just our ability to generate foreign exchange.
Alhassan Andani is president of the Ghana Association of Bankers. Now, the director of the Customers Innovation Center, Joe Sapon, says one of the surest ways to improve the country's earnings from agric is by fusing innovation with technology. Sapon was speaking to Joy Business ahead of the Customers Innovation Center Agritech Challenge Finals that will come off this Thursday. And sorry, we'll not be able to bring you that sound. And that's all for Business on Newsnight.
So listen to Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. And we have more on the PMMC story that has been making the rounds since last week, with the workers demonstrating.
And it appears that the dust is far from settling on that raging feud between the workers of PMMC and its CEO. Joy News has a number of copies of documents backing allegations of misappropriation and mismanagement against Mr. Opare Hammond. The workers last week besieged the offices of the Trades Union Congress, calling on the president to sack the company CEO, also over his poor management style, which could lead to the collapse of the company. And Norvan Akwaheford joins us in the studio with details of these supporting documents. Let's start with this issue about the 7,000 license fee allegation, where you pay 7,000, yet you are giving a 5,000 receipt. What's it about? What did we find?
Okay, so now we managed to get this document that did tell us that indeed what happens is that when you go in that you want a license to be able to export gold from PMMC, you pay 5,000 that goes to PMMC itself, and then 2,000 that goes to a company known as MICA. And that is what happens. And so you see some of the receipts that have been issued to these companies. That is what we have with us here.
Which company is MICA?
MICA, according to the managing director of the company, when we spoke to him, he says they are now the ones in charge of, issuing the licenses to the companies who are interested in having this particular license to be able to perform the business that they have to.
So they get the 2,000,
and that is why they get 2,000 and PMMC get 5,000. We don't know for now as to whether he went through the right processes in contracting this particular company to take care. But he tells us that, look, when he got to the company in 2017, he realized that the workers were not, accounting properly for monies that they were taking when it comes to licensing firms that were interested.
There were concerns also about the revision of board allowances. The supporting documents you have, what does it say?
Okay, so initially the board allowances, the monthly allowance for the board chairman was 630 Ghana cedis, and then his sitting allowance was supposed to be 1,050 cedis. Now, members of the board were receiving 525 Ghana cedis as monthly allowance, and then sitting allowance of 900 Ghana cedis. Interestingly, the review saw the sitting allowance going to 3,000 Ghana cedis.
So sitting allowance goes to 3,000 from what?
That is
from 630.
From the 1,050 for the board chair.
1,050.
1,050
for the board chair.
For the
Now
board
it's
chair.
at 3,000.
And it's become a flat rate. It's just a sitting allowance. So now there's no difference between the board chairman
That's a
and then
significant jump.
its members. There's also an introduction of what they call transportation, which was not part of the initial arrangement.
Apart from the 3,000.
Yes, and so transportation is now 2,000 Ghana cedis, and then you have the monthly fees, or what you call the monthly allowance, which initially used to be 525 for board members, and then 630 Ghana cedis for the chairman, now also reviewed to 3,000 Ghana cedis. Now, what is interesting that now the subcommittees also have gotten something for themselves when they also come to sit. So now sitting allowance for subcommittees of the board would be 1,500 Ghana cedis, and their transportation is pegged at 2,000. And then in the same review, what is interesting here again is that now the board secretary is supposed to also receive 3,000 Ghana cedis every month for his service. And they wrote something under it. They said, please take note that all the figures herein are net figures and they are to take immediate effect. This memo was written on the 28th of August.
That's a lot of money for if you're a board member. So you have a monthly fee they get of 3,000.
Yes.
And then you have transportation alone is
yes.
2,000.
2,000.
Wow. And then sitting allowance alone you get. So you know that you're taking a total of 8,000?
Yes, you're talking of a total of 8,000. So imagine that they just go for a board meeting once a month.
You take 8,000.
8,000.
And then the chair will get an additional 3,000.
Oh, the board secretary.
Board secretary.
Who is, also doing some work, also gets an additional 3,000 in there.
And according to the workers, the board has met so many times this year already.
Oh, of course. But what we understand is that the subcommittee is where a lot of meetings have been held. But you see the new introduction that they have there with the subcommittees. So
the subcommittee also will take, if you go for a monthly meeting, you take 3,500.
They get 1,500 for, okay.
Yes.
So the full addition is
cool chop.
A cool chop. Yes, that's what they're making for themselves.
It's a good time to be a board member. But we spoke
at
to
PMMC.
At PMMC, okay. So we spoke to the minister in charge of lands and natural resources. He says that he's just received the petition from the workers. It's on his table and he's studying it. As and when he's able to do that, he would speak to us. We also spoke to the CEO, Mr. Opare Hammond, and he says that the board says nobody should speak on the matter, and that by Thursday, I'm sure the entire board is meeting on the matter and would hear the final outcome. But
should the board be handling the investigations?
Because the allegations against the board.
The minister had said the board is dealing with it, but should the board be doing it? Well, let's speak to the representatives of the workers. That's the Mine Workers Union. Mr. Prince Ankra joins us on the telephone line. He's the General Secretary of the association. Mr. Ankra, thank you for your time here on News 9.
Thank you, Vance, and nice hearing for you. We're not speaking for a while.
Yes, I know last week you tried to. In fact, you met on this particular matter, and from what the last time we heard, I don't know if you since last week you've managed to achieve anything of substance in these negotiations between the workers and management.
Well, basically, in respect of the overall complaint that we had from the workforce, I mean, in relation to internal promotion and other related issues, which obviously wasn't done properly. The board has signaled that they are dealing with that and we should allow the space to really do it and come back to work. So they will say they will speed out the process and come back to work as early as possible. So that one will further well. If the internal policy infractions and it won't deal with that lens, it makes sense. Since the board subcommittee on human resource has shown that deep concern, we should allow them to do so.
But should the board be allowed to look into the matter, seeing that a significant part of the complaint is against the board itself and the subcommittee?
Yeah, even that a second leg. In respect of the board fees, when we cited the trend, I did indicate that, look, I served on a couple of private and public sector boards, and I know how these things get done. Basically, in respect of the board fee for the board members of PMC now, what that is wrong is that they ought to have gone through the structures for the Ministry of Finance to really confirm that, yes, these are proposals, and within the range of your peers, you can do A, B, C, and D. That virtually wasn't done. And I pinpoint that to the board members who are at the meeting when they look, this is a serious infraction. And for me, it's something that they will have to really bear the consequences, because ordinarily, if you made a proposal and you don't have an approval, you don't go out to really effect those payments on your own. So we did indicate that finally, and we said that is something wrong. I'm happy that per your job that you do as journalists who hold the state institution accountable, you are in possession of some detail of that nature, and that's your job. And you are interrogated further. I think that for me, it's the right thing to pinpoint. The right thing being that there was no way that they ought to have done what they did, because just sitting there making your own proposal and really without approval from where it should be, and that should come from Ministry of Finance. I mean, you end up paying yourself those money. It's very unethical, and our corporate government tells us that there's something wrong with that, and we did not mince words in making sure that they were told in the face.
Okay. So, are you close to any resolution yet?
Yeah, virtually. I believe that those are the point is that, regarding the very issue that the workers raised about internal promotions and other things that can be handled internally, we're only being very patient as well. If the board subcommittee on HR want to deal with that, that's fine. But as you mentioned, when it comes to matters of the managing director having done A, B, C, and D, procurement and the board fee and all other related institutions, it goes beyond the board. It goes beyond the board. The board apparently cannot really sit down and do things that affect them. The way you're doing is really how state institutions will make it sit up, and you only tell the entire nation that, well, these are the infractions that you really had, or you got evidence of that effect. The minister has said that he's staying there, he'll come back to you. It's just a matter of fact that a nation like ours can do better when institutions like yours exert pressure on those who are in the policy decisions and what they do that isn't just ethically right.
Thank you very much. That's Prince Ankrada. He is the Secretary General of the Mine Workers Union. And some further information on the document, the memo from the PMMC itself, actually shows that the chairman, the sitting allowance for the chairman, it's not 3,000, it's actually 4,500. And the monthly fee is also 4,500. And that is separate from the transportation he gets of 2,000. So the board chair alone is taking in excess of 11,000 for a monthly sitting from the board. And my question really to you, Norman, is, the board members, are they outside Accra that they have to fly in? Because the 2,000 for sitting is transportation is pretty high. I'm just curious.
Well,
you have to fly into the meeting in Accra?
Well, Evans, I can't answer that question for them. I really don't know where they live, and I cannot tell, where all these board members are coming from. But even if you were flying from Tamale to Accra, Evans, come on, how much is it? Passion Air, how much are they charging?
No, they don't
from
want
Accra to
you
Tamale?
can never tell.
Or
Anyway.
Africa World Airlines,
Yeah.
how much are they charging? So, you look at these figures, and they're very outrageous. And the most important thing that we need to note here is the fact that you haven't gotten the approval from the Ministry of Finance, and you are paying.
That's what Prince Ankra says there. Thank you, Norvan. He's been looking into these details. So listening to News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. And my friend from the sports desk is joining me. He's
Manchester United.
He's my Manchester United moaning and crying and wailing. Yeah?
You won this weekend.
This is the first time you win, but feels like a defeat. It's a painful win, because that win maintains Mourinho in his place for at least another 2 weeks.
Right, so the Black Stars of Ghana have opened camp in Kumasi despite concerns that the AFCON qualifier with Sierra Leone could be called off due to a FIFA ban on the Sierra Leonean Football Federation. Today in Freetown, the government met with the president of the FA, Aisha Johansson, and her general secretary to discuss the way forward. Some decisions have been taken to ensure the overturn of the ban for the game against the Black Stars to go on as planned. Here is spokesperson of the Sierra Leone Football Federation, Ibrahim Kamara.
The government, pleaded to the president, the recognized president, that is Madam Asha Johansson and Christopher Kamara, the two people that they set aside, which brought about this suspension from FIFA. They pleaded on them so that they could write a letter to FIFA, appealing that the ban should be lifted and that they are okay, with the fact that they are being set aside as a result of the anti-corruption issue, and that as soon as they are done with the matter, they will definitely be reinstated. So, and they've agreed to write that letter. Now that letter has been written to FIFA, but the question now becomes whether FIFA will accept a condition like that, or FIFA will still insist that they are being reinstated.
So what it means is that at this point we cannot confirm whether the game between Ghana will come off.
That is exactly what it means, because it's basically not exactly what FIFA required, what FIFA was asking for.
Right, so that was the spokesperson of Sierra Leone's Football Federation, Ibrahim Kamara. Now, all the way in Argentina, Buenos Aires, Ghana swimming medal hopeful Abeku Jackson has until the next few minutes to know whether he will qualify for the semi-finals of the men's 100 meters butterfly event after placing second in his heat with a new personal best of 54.52 seconds. The 18-year-old is number 2 on the reserve qualifiers list with the best time, and will hope that at least 2 swimmers do not show up for the final round of heats for the evening session. There will be more on the Youth Olympics tomorrow on the Joy Sports Center with George Addo Jr. Now, finally, Eden Hazard says he's torn between signing a new deal at Stamford Bridge and a dream move to Real Madrid. The Belgian forward has 2 years remaining on his contract with the Blues, but was linked with a move to the European superpowers in the summer. Hazard has scored 7 times in the Premier League already this season and said, quote, "I don't want to say yes, I'm signing a new contract, and then in the end, I don't end up signing. I want what is good for me, but I want what's good for the club because the club has given me everything." Evans, do you want what is good for Manchester United?
Yes.
What is good for Manchester United?
I want what... Sack Mourinho.
Right. That's your sports. My name is Hans Mensando.
Thank you very much, Hans. Now, Ghana continues to stand its ground in the face of strong diplomatic pushback from the U.S., which is still determined to have Ghana facilitate the deportation of some 7,000 Ghanaians living illegally in the States.
And that's according to Foreign Affairs Minister Shelley Ayoko Botche. Madam Botche dismissed earlier reports that Ghana had reached an agreement with the U.S. to deport the immigrants. The U.S. had threatened to impose visa restrictions on Ghana if we fail to facilitate the deportation. Now, Evans, you spoke to Dr. Bafwe Jewa and on the sidelines of the UN General
who is a
Assembly,
Ghana ambassador to the
US, and he told you that Ghana had reached an agreement to help the US to deport these 7,000. We can listen.
If the person came in on an accepted documentation at the port of entry, there ought to be the documentation that allowed the person to be brought in. So whatever basic information that is necessary, the American system should have it. So if they do have it, then they don't have to come to us to ask whether the person is Ghanaian. So I think all that we were talking about basically is for a certain fairness to be applied, and the embassy not necessarily pressured to agree to seeing some people deported. And I think this is where we had a certain difference of opinion, and that's all.
Has the Americans agreed to now deport them without your endorsement?
No, I don't think it's a matter of agreeing to deport people without our endorsement. But at least we have had enough, discussion.
But the Foreign Affairs Minister says any agreement must first be approved by Cabinet, which is yet to happen. He spoke to my colleague, Evan Spencer.
What they're asking us to do is difficult because they feel that anybody they arrest who says they're Ghanaian, then, they come within 24 hours. They're issued with travel documents. They even want us to issue a certain number of travel documents a week. And it's just not possible, and I will not superintend over any such thing. Apart from that, I also have difficulty, and we've had occasion to complain about the manner in which they are brought back. They are brought back on chartered flights and they are shackled. Some are put in belly chains. It's not right. We stand our ground. We continue to stand our ground that we will follow our due process in order to issue travel documents, and they must respect that.
We spoke to the ambassador to the US, Ms. Abewa, who said that there's some understanding that he's reached with them. How close are we to resolving this problem?
I'm yet to see that understanding, but whatever understanding he has reached with them will have to be brought to Accra for me to approve it. And this is something that would also have to go to cabinet or at least the president must know about it. So I'm not too sure what he means when he says that he's reached some understanding, but I don't know of any understanding, and I still insist that certain processes must be followed in order that we are all clear in our minds about it.
And that's the Foreign Minister, Shirley Ayoko Botwe.
Now, former Deputy Chief of Staff Dr. Valerie Sawyer has dragged the Attorney General, Ayoko, to an Accra High Court. Her lawyers are demanding that the audit report in which she's cited in a $54 million financial loss to the state in the procurement of helicopters for the Ghana Gas Company be set aside. Now, this audit report has been the subject of huge debate between the NPP and the NDC, with the NDC alleging private companies have been contracted unlawfully to perform this task at a cost of $6.8 million. We'll recall that. Well, Dr. Sawyer is unhappy. She wasn't contacted by the firm but put together the report. Of course, we'll get details in our subsequent bulletins.
Now let's do flip side now. And of course, let's catch a flight to London and join President Akufo-Addo because he's gone down memory lane when he used to school as a young man in the UK. And we got to learn today what he was called by his colleagues. And apparently he was the only black in the school. But he stood his ground. Well, he's been interacting with some of his old colleagues and mates in school. Listen to Elting. He's been traveling with him and he filed this report. He was called Billy, by the way.
Lansing College, an almost 2 hours drive from central London, was home to President Akufo-Addo in his secondary school days and clearly marked the beginning of his rise to leadership positions which today put him in the high office of the country. Described as hard-working in class, skillful on the field, and jovial in the dormitory, two of his classmates, Richard and Nigel, tell me he was everything one would wish for in a friend.
Billy, we knew him as Billy. He was talented, a sportsman. I don't think he knew music much, actually. We played in the same soccer team. Towards the end of a game against a particularly clever side, we got lots of good results. And we were leading 3-1 with about 10 minutes to go. And Billy got hold of the ball in the centre circle.
The station with the best music. Best music.
I love the music.
Best music. Joy 99.7 FM.
Keep the frequency clear.